Hey people, welcome back to another episode of Post-Match Carnage. We are here to speak about Liverpool and signings and incomings and outgoings. Oh, look who's turned up as well. I've got the Colonel in the building as well. Bright as a bunny with them shades. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, we have got so much to get through, and we will be getting through it by hook or by crook, as they say. But we won't go anywhere further until I hear some likes being smashed, tapped, touched. Can I hear some likes being touched, smashed, tapped, please? Hit up that like button, please. There's 200 of you guys in here already. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. You already know I'm doing regular content. You already know I'm doing weekly shows, post-match reviews, pre-match reviews, transfer shows, hot topics, post-match reactions from the car people. How much more do you want me to do? But listen, it's not about me today. It's about the returning, the one and only, the handsome man of the podcast, the man with the looks, the golden touch, and all of that business. No, Colonel, not you this time. It's Keith Cross. Goalmouth is back in the building. People, I need to hit the like button for Keith Cross because man is newly married. If that don't deserve a like, I don't know what does. Keith, welcome back, my brother. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Come back, ring in hand. So, to the chat. That's over now. I'm sorry, you were too late for the proposals. We waited all season for proposals. I didn't receive no dowries from no one in the chat. So, game over. So, unfortunately, but no, it's amazing to be back. Tanned up to the hilt. I was in Jordan. We got married in the Middle East, the proper East. And can't wait to be back regularly and back talking about our favorite football club in the world. Not a bad way to come back. Let me tell you that.
100%. People, bless up, bros. God, football ends. Guys, like the video, take a seat and relax until you hear a mad take. And that's what we got the Colonel in the building for. My Colonel, what are you saying? What are you telling me? People are going to relax and enjoy the show until we hear a mad take. Normally, the odds are the mad take is going to come from you. But what are you telling me, bro?
No, I'm good, man. Congratulations, Keith, on officially being off the market. Pretty sure you're making a lot of people upset. For the men, I'm pretty sure they rooting you on. You know what I'm saying? More fishes for them in the sea and that. But now, big up, man. Big up, Grizz. No mad take, man. You know what, Grizz? You need to stop saying the mad take thing because from where I'm standing, you man's take is wild, bro. Like, I'm sitting calm watching the game. The game looks like a game of golf, very measured, fist bumps and quiet. The claps ain't even loud. Did you hear Arne Slot claps make a noise? None of them. It was just calm. And human heart rate is just beating way too fast, bro. Just relax. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get into it. So from where I'm standing, human are the wild ones, hyperventilating about things that's irrelevant, like signings. That's irrelevant. Why you need signing if you're winning? You know what I mean?
No doubt. Look, we're going to get into all of that, people, while I try to look for what I'm looking for. Here we go. 1 second. There we go. Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're going to get into all of that. Change please, Mr. Khan, Mr. Cross, Colonel, good evening. Pleased to join you all today. We are pleased to have you. As I said, 300 of you guys already here. If you haven't liked the button, hit the like button. I don't know what you're waiting for. If you haven't subscribed, that's even worse. People, we have got so much to talk about. But first, we must talk about the first here we go or here we land. Like I tweeted, depending on how old you are, which phrase you prefer. We have agreed a fee for a new goalkeeper, people. And we have a special guest who's going to discuss that with us today and give us some insight, because I'm not sure, as much as Colonel makes out he's a football man, and I know Keith professes to be the biggest football man in the universe. I'm not sure how much you guys know about Georgian footballers, especially Georgian keepers playing in Spain. But someone who will know a lot and everything about him will be Lukasz from Georgian Footy. Lukasz, thank you very much for joining us, my brother. Hope you're doing very well.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me, guys.
Good stuff. Listen, we're going to come straight into the chat. And today, Lukasz, our very own Paul Joyce. So when Paul Joyce speaks from a Liverpool fan's point of view, it's like, this is it. When Paul Joyce says something, it's it. Even more than Romano, even maybe more than Ornstein. I don't know the Georgian equivalent. Like, have you got a journalist where he, when he says something, everyone else says, okay, shh, this is the truth. Give us that name of that journalist.
Well, we've got he's actually got like a small little Twitter page, Geo Team. His name is called. He's kind of friends with majority of our national team players, and that was quite a bit of insight, to be honest. And he was the one who kind of confirmed whether Mamardashvili was gonna definitely go to Liverpool, whether he's gonna stay at Bournemouth, whether he's gonna go to Bournemouth or he's gonna stay at Valencia on loan and stuff like that. So we have got someone who was able to kind of scrap out some information for us when we need him the most, so to speak.
Amazing. Well, in that case, if he has, by the way, has he also confirmed it and said
yeah.
Okay.
He also confirmed that he's passed his medicals and all sorts of things. So we're good to go on this one. Just waiting for the final confirmation, I guess.
Amazing. Look, and then we might as well get into it. Look, as I said, I'm going to speak for myself.
Yeah.
All I knew about this keeper was from what we saw in the Euros most recently. The reputation is huge. People, so many learned people speaking about this guy as the next best thing. So many people talking about the quality of clubs that have been after him. Can you give us some insight into the kind of clubs that have been looking at him and watching him?
Yeah, well, the closest team in terms of signing was Bayern Munich last summer. They've nearly agreed a deal, which could have been a bit less what Liverpool offered to them this season, which was about 25 million euros. But Bayern didn't wanted to spend that much money on a goalkeeper. They signed Peretz, I think from the Israeli league, as a backup goalkeeper to Neuer. So that move didn't quite materialize. Before that, Chelsea and Spurs wanted him as well, and just before Liverpool, Man United were also kind of monitoring his situation, especially in January, kind of considering whether Onana was going to stay or not. But well, in the end, we'll see how it went, and he's now off to Liverpool. But in terms of the calibers of the teams, probably top teams were after him, especially since his sort of debut season in Spain and how well he did with Georgia as well before the Euros as well. So I think it's a good move for him eventually whenever he gets the pen on the paper as well. So.
Keith, and Luca tells us about some clubs that have been interested in after him, right? We were known to be ahead of the curve, weren't we, a few years ago? And I think it's fair to say we've dipped in terms of we've gone behind slightly in terms of being ahead of the curve, if you know what I mean. Now we've fallen back in terms of that being smarter and quicker than everyone else. But this, to me, and look, we're going to get into the rest of the stuff and the rest of the window and what we need to do or lack of whatever we haven't done. But this in isolation comes across as a revert to the times where we're being ahead of the curve and ahead of the smartness.
Absolutely. I think it just goes to show how much things are more settled in the background than they have been. I mean, you say about how we've not been ahead of the curve. It's hard to get ahead of the curve when you're not even in the driving seat and you've got no drivers to steer the club in the right direction. And that's the reality of the situation over the last 12 to 18 months with the club. I think we had very immediate issues that we needed to address, but thinking ahead, a couple of years later for a goalkeeper was definitely not something in our wheelhouse. When Georgia Smith first came into the club, he had a specific task to get midfielders into the club, and that was pretty much it. So it's nice to see that we're ahead of the curve. From what I saw of him at the Euros, we are often blown away by an outfield player at the Euros that becomes a standout over the years. But I actually think the Georgian goalkeeper was one of the few standout goalkeepers to have a breakthrough international tournament. We often go to international tournaments where we know who the top keepers are, who the big keepers are. This one went very much under my radar. And Grizz, if you wouldn't mind, I have also a question for Luca in terms of, what's in the water in Georgia at the moment? Because you guys seem to be really pulling out some sports stars at the moment. I'm a big, obviously, UFC fan, so I've seen, Ilya Taporia blow up into the scene. Obviously, you guys in the Euros this season were one of the most entertaining to watch. Like, how has this all come to pass? And how are you producing more and more talent in the sporting world, specifically, I suppose, today, football?
Yeah. Well, I guess it's in the DNA, isn't it? Some nations are blessed with talent in certain sports. Like Croatia is one of the nations, I'd say. It's a smaller country, but I mean, history throughout in terms of football as well as other sports like handball and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess that is the case, especially the last 10, 15 years, where some works have been done towards building some facilities, academies, just training cultures, just developed, and the country's gone after went through a really rough patch in the 90s, which was a typical case with the dissolving Soviet Union country, so to speak. And right now we're a bit more settled, let's say, and which gives opportunities to players to just athletes and to people just to develop. Maybe it's sports or other fields of everyday life. And in this case, sports. I guess we're doing all right, not as good as we could, I think. But for a small population of like 3.7 million, I think we're doing quite well.
I was gonna before I get in fact, Colonel, I'll come to you. I was gonna ask Lukasz something as well. But Colonel, obviously we have probably currently the best goalkeeper in the world. Not many would disagree with that. But how many times have me and you discussed about succession planning and listen, we need to look to the future. Sentiment goes out the window now. We've only got 30-plus-year-olds left now. You know what I mean when I say 3, 4, like the old guard, Alisson, Virgil, Salah, Robertson. It looks like Alisson is the first one we're looking to future-proof, right? Are you good with this move? Do you know much about this keeper? Have you been doing much research on him? And do you think it's a good move to get ahead of it early? Do it early.
So know about him personally, no, but like I said, my scouting is done in FIFA before the EAFC thing. And I know of him, and I used to go to him because I couldn't afford the French one. I think it's called Lafont. I think he used to be at Nantes. So there's like a pecking order. Yeah. So like if you play FIFA, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Him and that guy was like neck and neck. And I'm like, how dope would it be if these guys are like backup keeper for Liverpool? Oh, well. And I move on. Similar with the Hendo thing. That's how I end up in that market. Because when I play FIFA, I don't like to be the top team and dominate. I like to build up my squad. And he was a keeper that I used to build up my squad, right? Well, link with him. And I'm like, all right, this is kind of weird now. Because of the 30-plus guys, I would have liked to move on maybe a Robbo or get a guy in for Salah. The Alisson one, it's interesting. I like it, and I think it's very on brand with the FSG Liverpool, where their business is never one that we expect, like the Fabinos. And when they bust off their business, it's just like it's always split in the fence. Like I don't know, or and then years down, like nah, that was good business. So only time will tell. Only time will tell with this one.
Only time will tell if your audio fixes itself as well, because people are saying that the eardrums are getting burnt with your audio. So I don't know what you're doing with the audio. See if you can fix that and do something, because otherwise there's about close to 450 people in it that you're burning the eardrums, including mine. But this is what you do. It's either with mad takes or it's either with bad mics. So, you know what I mean? Nothing's changed. But Luka, coming back to you, Luka, give us some insight into this guy in terms of, so look, we know that he's come through. Did he have a connection with Dynamo Tbilisi?
He's come through the exact same academy as Kvara and all the other guys who play for Georgia.
So if you ask me, and I'm going to be very honest, if you ask me, name a club, a prominent club from Georgia, the first one and the only one pretty much that would come to head would be Dynamo Tbilisi. So just give us some insight into how he's come through the ranks and sort of how he's ended up where he is, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, Dynamo Tbilisi have definitely got the best academy in Georgia right now. Even as we speak, it's like an ongoing tournament in Tbilisi. We've got Watford, Juventus, Valencia, and a few teams in City right now, and they've been all of them in the other 16 age. So definitely, it's a place where players develop. And talking about the Euros, 19 of our players have come through the academy who've been part of the Georgia team at the Euros. So basically, goes to show how it's been doing bits for us right now. And as I mentioned before, Kvara is probably the biggest name coming through the Dynamo Tbilisi Academy. Mamardashvili is probably second in terms of that. But the strange thing is, he never really got a chance in the first team. He didn't play a single minute for Dynamo Tbilisi senior side. And he was sent off. Yeah. He was sent out on loan twice to two of the Georgian clubs. Firstly, when he had his first pro season, when he was about age 18, 19. He came to a club called Rustavi, and they got relegated. But that was a clear sign that he was something kind of different to compared to other Georgian goalkeepers. Obviously, his build is kind of tall, he's nearly 2 meters tall as well. So it's a bit of a, hey, you have to guess, oh, this guy might be a goalkeeper just because of his height. But so certain games he pulled off certain shots, which makes me wonder, like, well, how is this guy playing for a relegation playoff team? Then the season after was when he actually caught the eyes from Valencia. He went to Lokomotiv Tbilisi, another team that used to compete in Europa League qualifiers, and they faced Granada from La Liga at the time. They're now relegated also in the second league. And although that team lost, he played well, and Valencia scouted him in that game basically, and that was the main reason why he got signed by Valencia. But initially, he was signed by Valencia as a fourth choice goalkeeper for the B team.
Wow.
He was never considered as he was never really considered as a first team member, at least. And the funny thing is, whenever he went to Valencia, which is in summer 2021, the first choice goalkeeper Jasper Cillessen, probably might be familiar, he's a Dutch goalkeeper, played for Barca as well.
Yeah.
He was basically COVID positive, so he was out for a couple of weeks. The second choice goalkeeper was injured, so he was out for a couple of weeks. And then it was a tussle between the third choice goalkeeper and a fourth choice goalkeeper. And one of them played like one preseason game, the other one played the other game, and Mamardashvili actually did better. And that was the main reason why I actually started that season for Valencia. He played 6 or 7 games, I think, in 2021-2022 season. And he actually got the man of the match award as well in his first game, which was definitely not too many of us expected that, to be honest, at the time. That was the beginning of his journey. Then he actually, one of the issues that he had, which I know from him personally as well, for some of his sort of entourage, is that he was a bit too nervous at the time because he didn't really expect to have that big of a rise in like 2 or 3 month period. And whenever I think he played for Sevilla in one of the games, and he conceded a couple of really silly goals, and it really got stuck to his mind. And he got sat on the bench for the next 2.5 months. But then again, in 2022, in February, he got back. He started playing for Valencia, and he's been their first choice goalkeeper since. He actually holds the record as the player with most consecutive games for Valencia in La Liga as well, which is quite a big achievement considering it's a big team in Spain. It's obviously one of the more sort of classical and historical teams in Spain. So and throughout this sort of 2.5 years, 3 years, he's developed into one of the best goalkeepers in La Liga as well. And it could sound biased, and that's all right, I guess, but it's not just my kind of thoughts. It's just how it is, especially in terms of especially after the Euros, everyone got proven right that he's definitely a top keeper at his age group at least. I think Diogo Costa from Portugal might be the only other one you'd consider in the same category as him in terms of players who are 23 and under. So yeah.
From what I saw of him, and I don't know, Keith and Colonel want to come in, but from what I've seen of him so far, and obviously limited, especially to Euro, and then obviously YouTube highlights. By the way, Anfield Road End, regular subscriber says, only thing I know of Georgia is Damno Tbilisi, Timuri Kutspaya. How can we forget Timuri Kutspaya, the Newcastle madman, the one who kicked down the defenses? Remember when he scored? Mamardashvili, and of course, Georgie Kinkladze. I think he's forgotten Kvaratskhelia is also from.
Yeah, he has Kvicha in it. So no, he's written down.
Oh, sorry, Kvicha. Yeah. Of course, I didn't see that. Of course. So exactly. But how I forgot Timuri Kutspaya. So he won't be the first Georgian, right, to play in the Premier League. He's going to be
no.
There's been a few actually.
Yeah, there has been. There've been 4 or 5 Georgians playing for City in the 90s and early 2000s. We had a couple of players at Chelsea. The latest player that we had was the Blackburn Rovers in 2009, which is Surab Khizanishvili is centre back. Not a great centre back, to be fair, but I mean, at least he played in Premier. We could say that to his grandchildren.
Hey, listen. We would all love to be playing in the Premier League, so it's a huge statement. I was going to ask you, from what I've seen of him in terms of his qualities, I love his. And listen, people can laugh at what they want in terms of what I'm going to say, but it's true. In my opinion, I think goalkeepers, one of the best attributes of a goalkeeper is to have aura. Now, how you define aura is up to each individual, what they think of it, right? But this guy, Luka, gives me indications of having a Alisson type aura. He's a handsome brother, okay? He's massive, he's huge, right? He's 6 foot something, 4, 5?
Yeah, 6'5", I think 6'6", maybe.
5. And I think Alisson was like, like Schmeichel used to have that, where they intimidate forwards. So when forwards have a chance or they clean through, it's almost normally a forward or a attacker dies to have a chance to go through and score a goal. Whereas if you have an Alisson or as I said, Schmeichel and this fella, it seems like they're like second thoughts in their head, like, okay, now we have to think of the finish. Do you see what I mean by that? He's got this aura about him.
Yeah, he's definitely got the confidence in him, which was, I remember probably last year when one of the sort of Georgian journalists did a like a documentary with him. He said that I knew I was going as a 4-choice goalkeeper, but that was the only option I had to get at the level. And I had self-confidence. I knew that I was capable of becoming a decent goalkeeper at least. And he proved himself wrong and didn't really prove himself wrong. And especially this sort of wins, like it's a huge thing for Georgia as well, just to be at the part of the tournament. It just helps the players to boost their morale, boost their confidence, and just to be more, I don't know how to put it, not cocky, but you know what I mean, like being more confident about yourself. And this generation of players, you've mentioned a feature as well, Mikhail Tadze at Lyon and Mamardashvili at Valencia. They've got just a different kind of sense of confidence, calmness in them, and belief that, on my day, I can do whatever I want. And especially, I'm not sure if you've seen all our games at the Euros, but there was barely a shot he put past him that I could have saved. I think he just pulled out saves after saves after saves, and he had the most saves. I think 29 was the number of shots he saved, which is an all-time record at the Euros.
Wow.
Because
an all-time record at the Euros. And that's in 4 games. We didn't reach the final, obviously. We played just 4 games in the round of 16, where we got knocked out by Spain in the round of 16, and he saved 29 shots, which is quite a remarkable figure, if you ask me. And he was asked before the game, "What if Ronaldo takes a penalty against you?" So like, I'm going to jump and catch it. I was like, as simple as that.
Love it.
Yeah. So I understand what you mean. And I get what you mean. And that's the reality, I'd say.
I would say for me, it was the Czech Republic game.
Sure.
For me was the game. I mean, if anybody hasn't watched any of the Euros and wants to watch what kind of quality this man has, I believe he single-handedly kept you in the Euros at that time, particularly following the defeat in the first game. 11 saves were made in that game, and I just thought I never, as I said before, I've never watched an international tournament where there's been a game where I'm just like, wow, this goalkeeper is the next. But the last time actually that stuck out to me was when Peter Cech played for the Czech Republic before Chelsea signed him. That was the last time that I remember watching a goalkeeper in big championships and thinking to myself, wow, this guy has got it. And you speak about aura, nothing was getting past him that particular day. And then to keep a clean sheet against Portugal, and the style of football that you guys were playing as well. You guys play, quote unquote heavy metal football, right? You guys were just going for it. And to be a keeper for a side who there's going to be, as great it is to watch you guys going forward, there's going to be chances coming the other way. I know that slots probably changed things a little bit so far, but I mean, ultimately that is the Premier League, and that is going to be a perfect league for him because he's going to be dealing with plenty of those type of transition chances, and to be in the right place at the right time and at times make saves look easy. I think that's when you are really an elite goalkeeper, is when you're saying, that looked easy. You know what I mean? He makes it look easy.
Well, that's what I wanted to come to, Luca. Sorry, Colonel, I don't know if you wanted to come in there. I was going to ask, did you want to come in there?
I'm actually surprised the way I'll just say this panel, and I won't bring extra people into this, but I'm surprised at how you guys are reacting to the keeper, because me knowing about him for a couple years just from FIFA, I actually thought to myself, Kelleher has risen to his level. Now, Kelleher didn't get the Euro stage to go and show whatever he needs to show, but from where I'm standing, if I was to say to you guys, Kelleher, this guy, it almost sounds like you guys are like, yeah, we don't need Kelleher, we need this guy, because I can't see Kelleher sitting number 2 to him, especially since Kelleher's been around and stuff like that. So it's just interesting hearing the way you guys are talking him up, and I would expect me to be bringing him to the table and you guys talking up Kelleher this way. So, and that's what I said, Grizz, this keeper thing, it's kind of mad to me because I would put him and Kelleher on the same pedestal.
And that's fair enough. I personally do rate Kelleher very highly. But for me, and I'm not a goalkeeping expert, I'm going to put it out there, but it's all about opinions, right? And we're here to share opinions. I think Kelleher is very good. I think Kelleher is very good with the ball at his feet as well. I just think Kelleher doesn't have that, exactly what we were discussing about Alisson and Mamardashvili, and check that aura, that kind of fit, doesn't put that fear factor into forwards or presence. That's the word I'm looking for. I think Kelleher doesn't have that presence. He may develop it. I don't know, but that's the only thing. And that's why I was going to come to you, Luca. And I know you got to go. So we're not going to keep too much of your time. Just this final segment.
Yeah, that's all right.
I wanted to get your opinion on. So obviously, like Keith says, we were under Klopp, very gung-ho, play a very high line. We expect our keeper to be very good with the ball at his feet. His distribution, we know when we have the likes of Diaz and Salah and Nunez and Jota, sort of counter-attacks, the distribution, all of these kind of things. Give us a summary of his pros, and then obviously he's going to have some cons, because every keeper, every player has cons as well. So just give us a brief summary of his pros and cons in your opinion.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to start with cons, to be fair, and because of, well, you've mentioned the ball distribution, which is probably the area where he struggles the most right now. It could be also justified with the fact that neither Valencia nor Georgia play like a possession-based football, especially against tougher opponents, and just basically for the half the game he has to kick it up the field. So you can't really develop much in terms of your ball distribution. But that was the biggest concern I have right now in terms of whether he's going to fit into like a build-up structure, which should have trying to implement right now. And as I said, Kelleher probably is better on that department, and fair enough. I mean, that's the aim of the game. One of the thoughts I had before the whole deal structure kind of finalized of him staying in Valencia and going to Liverpool next year, I was actually thinking whether it would have been better if he moved to the Prem, to some team, or Bournemouth or one of the teams, but maybe even at Bournemouth or somewhere else, just to adapt to maybe the play style, just to adapt to the culture as well, because you have to consider the fact that obviously we're all human beings and we have to change the scenery, right? So for him to come from Spain to England, it's a big transition. And you have to adapt in all areas as well, on and off the field. And if he's sort of able to do that quite quickly, that's probably going to help him the most, and especially with playing with his feet, because right now Valencia doesn't really have that opportunity to do it. And so that's probably the main concern I have about him, as well as his strengths. I guess 1v1, he's a great goalkeeper 1v1, just because of his size, his presence. He's quite tall, and the good thing about him, he just covers a lot of ground. He's not slow at all. He knows how to cover ground on the line. It's quite nice. And one of the areas in which he developed was positioning and just coming out for the high balls, like crosses and long throws and stuff like that. So that's definitely an area where he developed. And again, as I said, calmness, being that presence, it really helps. It really helps to have a keeper of his stature behind your back. And in terms of and other players have said as well, like it gives us extra confidence to have a keeper like him, who you know, like on a day he's going to save at least 5 or 6 shots if he needs to. So yeah, I guess that's probably one of my main takeaways. And again, he's quite a confident lad. I'm pretty sure he's going to compete for the spot. Even it's not just Alisson, isn't it? As I mentioned, Kelleher is still at the team right now, so he has to compete with him, obviously, and then he has to compete with Alisson. But we don't really know what will happen next year. Whether some place might go or some place might stay. I think Alisson said that he wants to sort of stay for the next few years. Doesn't really think about going to the Saudi League, and that's completely fine. He's still quite young for a goalkeeper, because we all know how late the keepers actually sort of drop in terms of their form and performance. And he's 30, 32, 30, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess he has got his belief and confidence in him to compete with anyone, and hopefully he's going to back it.
But that's a good thing, isn't it? I mean, Keith, the way he's sort of said, he knows Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the world. He knows, like Colonel says, we've got a very able debutante in Kelleher. Yet he was so adamant that, listen, like Luca tells us the story about going to Valencia as fourth choice. He believed in himself. At the moment, you'd say he's third choice. you know, I know Jaros is there, but we're probably going to move Kelleher or Jaros on. But at the moment, he's a year away from the Liverpool career, yet he's so confident of, I'm going to go there and I'm going to become the number one at Liverpool Football Club. We like that, right?
100%. Clearly, well, we like it because Gerald Kwanzaa is an example of someone who recently has done exactly that. So we love that kind of stuff, to be honest. And maybe history will repeat itself. Look, Alisson, the thing is, we'll talk about it, I think, with a few other players over the next few weeks and months, depending on contract situations. But there's a real argument to suggest that there's a number of players who could probably, you know, may have a second career elsewhere. And Alisson is an interesting one because I feel like he's got a lot of ties to Liverpool. I mean, my understanding is that he's a pastor now at one of the churches in Liverpool. I believe he is. So he's fully settled in there. And I think, you know, he's got quite a nice, quiet life out there. But maybe he might see a situation where he could become the first choice goalkeeper for another top Champions League club in the next year or two. And so we have to brace ourselves for Alisson. You know, clearly he had the conversations this summer. Let's not get it twisted. You know, and luckily for us, it was Saudi Arabia in a way. Of course, the money I'm sure was nice, but lucky for us, it was them. You know, I question whether his decisions may change if a big European club are looking for a new number one in the next year or two. So, you know, let's enjoy Alisson while we still can, but I'm loving this idea that we're going to have somebody that can step straight in. Something that Liverpool have a history with goalkeepers, Luca, a history going all the way back to the likes of, you know, when David James first became Liverpool number one, and going forward, you know, they come, they go. We've never really had someone like Alisson before. So the fan base is nervous, of course. But I like the fact that, you know, all things I've seen, it looks like we may have found our future number one.
I think Luca's sort of insight has calmed and I think assured a lot of the Liverpool fan base that we have got a gem. Listen, Luca, it's been fantastic hearing from you and listening to you, and thank you very much for all the insight. And I guess thank you from everyone for blessing us with probably our future number one. So listen, we all hope and Georgia brings out more and more stars, and may your country flourish, and you know, and may we reap the rewards as well and have some, because I remember, because I'm, as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit older than the rest of the guys. So I remember King Clancy. Like, I was watching King Clancy, and my God, people don't know about King Clancy. If you can YouTube Georgie King Clancy, go and do it, because he was out of this world. But Luca, thank you very much. Guys, make sure you go and check out Georgian Footy. Follow everything Georgian Footy related, and Luca will have pearls of wisdom for you. Luca, thank you very much for joining us, my friend.
Thank you, man. Thank you guys for having me.
All the best. Take care. Yeah, man, looks like we've secured our future number one. But now it's time to talk about the present. Colonel, tell me, what are you telling me? First home game of Arnie's slot era. Not Bournemouth. Brentford were the people to come and try to make life difficult for us. They made life difficult for us, like Ipswich in that first half. But tell me, man, how was your mood going into the game as the game progressed, and how you feeling at the end of it, man? Before we get into the nitty gritty.
Tired, bro. Just tired. I fell asleep at halftime. Woke up at 60 minutes to go. I just couldn't get up for it. I'm seeing people on a break doing step overs and turning back. I'm seeing people on a break cutting it back, and it was a weird one to watch, because I understand the assignment as far as not forcing it and keeping control, but it's gonna take some adjustment. We're not in top speed, top gear, gung ho. It's very measured. It's very controlled. It's very deep breath, execute. Okay, deep breath, recycle, and it's. I was not in and out, man, but great clean sheet, 2 wins out of 2. Not a lot of energy during the game. I miss having energy. I miss being fired up. I had some Guinness. I didn't even open the Guinness. I was just sitting there. Old man football is what I'm gonna call it, because maybe I've grown into that. You're a bit older than me. I don't know if I'm speaking recklessly. I don't want to insult anyone. Mature?
Okay, well, listen, you've lit the touch paper, and I knew you're gonna lit the touch paper. I knew you're gonna lit the touch paper. But listen, I label this title Control at Anfield. And Keith, I think I know where he's coming from. And I was surrounded by fans that had similar opinions to the Colonel. All right. And I was surrounded by people saying, yo, pass it for, let's go, attack. And I was looking around and I thought, not only do the players have to adjust to this new style and this new system, and of course the coaches and all the young players and the old players, but I think the fan base will have to adjust and adapt. This is a total different, I feel, mentality and philosophy, Keith. There is elements that are still the same. We gegenpress. When we lose the ball, we try to press. But I feel as though there's a lot of, what's the word? Adaptation period needed. Do you feel that as well?
Look, Jurgen Klopp calls his football heavy metal football. I call Arne Slot's football house music.
House music.
It's house music.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you've ever been to a house rave, right, you'll know that for sometimes it takes a little bit longer for the drop to come in.
Okay, I get you.
They might be pumping the same tune, the same tune. And the layers come, and the layers come, and it builds up to like a big, crescendo, and away you go. So that's for me. That's how I've kind of accepted it. Well, this is house music now, and I kind of see. Here's two things. At one stage, I get it, right? It takes a bit of getting used to. The only thing that I will say is that when Liverpool won the league, no one can tell me that it was exciting for football to watch, right? We were winning games 1-0, we were winning games 2-0, we were controlled, we were a lot more patient with the ball, we were dominating teams, and we catch them, we'd score 1, we'd score 2. I remember I used to see tweets saying, take me back to the days when it was Coutinho, Salah, Mane, Firmino, front four, doing all kinds of madness. And so my kind of evaluation is, if it is controlled, how good can we be? How good we have been when we are controlled, when we're not giving away crazy transitions, when we're not trying to force the ball, when we're not trying to attack at all costs, when we're not like pressing like crazily for the sake of pressings. When we are controlled, I think we can be at our best. And I think the biggest difference between this kind of baiting the press, which is the biggest change, really. A lot of things haven't changed, but the one thing that has changed, we bait the press now, right? Instead of Virgil van Dijk playing a long diagonal and trying to get the ball up as quickly as possible to win the ball back in the area as quickly as possible, we kind of draw the opposition out where, we'll keep the ball, like Zubi say, we'll keep the ball, we'll move it around a little bit. It might be a bit longer. The difference between us baiting the press and maybe other teams that are also trying to play this style is we have Trent Alexander-Arnold. And when you have a player like that who can switch it on in the heat of the moment, you've got players like Salah, we've got players that at any given moment can literally get you from maybe snoozing when we're trying to bait the press to all of a sudden thinking, damn, I wish I never fell asleep at that part of the movie, because that was when the best part happened. So it's gonna take some time, but I think it's really exciting because we're kind of merging two styles, and I'm really interested to see how this all pans out.
People, over 550 of you in here, we love the support. We absolutely love the support. We are humbled to have all of you in this chat. I know it's a bit of a random time, but as you can see, I've got the man, the myth, Goldmouth back. I've got the Colonel in the building. We are here to talk about Liverpool. What more do you guys want? All we ask for is a like. Dul Inko says, I'm a Feyenoord fan from the Netherlands. Slot style is amazing. It's a winning, mature, intelligent, and mostly entertaining style of football. Calling this boring is so weird to me. I think what we mean, or some people mean, is it's different, right, Colonel? And it's
I think people are overreacting to even what Keith said and what I said earlier. none of us here is complaining about winning. Like, relax, because maybe we're even talking to you. It's that edge of the seat. There was no reason for any fan during the first two games to be on the edge of their seat. Now let's dial it back. We've been living on the edge for about 5-6 years. If I'm chatting shit, say I'm chatting shit. There was no reason for us to be on the edge, biting nails. It was so relaxed. It's almost like, so I didn't even hear the fans chanting and singing and get no disrespect to the fans. I love it. Respect the class that was oozing out the performance. But it's gonna take some adjustment.
Did it not remind you of the season we won the league?
But to be fair, Keith, but to be fair, there was some 2-1 games in there. Mane taking a boot to the head. There was some close games, or like, is the run gonna end? So we were on the edge, wondering if the run was gonna end, because the run lasts up until like February, April. We only lost 1 game, and it wasn't an overwhelming control, but we always get to it in the end during that season. But it's not like I said.
But can I say something, guys? Can I say something, guys? Right? Who's been the best team, possibly in the world recently? Okay, maybe not the world, because Madrid might have a say in that. But who's the team that's dominated the best part of a decade in the Premier League? Would anyone call them exciting, on the edge, biting nails kind of football? So if that is the most successful model right now, currently, where you nullify the opposition, the counterattacks are sporadic, if any, because I don't know about you guys, but in the first 2 games, the only chances that we've let up is through our errors. I don't think a single chance, and correct me, chat, and I know it's only Ipswich, and I know it's only Brentford, but we can't say actually only Brentford, because Mbeumo and Vissa are serious attackers in the Premier League levels, right? I don't believe any team has created a chance through where it's not been an issue with us losing possession. I don't know. And I quite like that feeling, Keith. How many times were we nervous as last season, like losing a goal, chasing? And I get it. It was heavy metal. It was Jurgen Klopp. The crowd. We need the crowd. We need emotion. But what did we need? We need energy levels. What does energy levels? When you use up energy levels, injuries, tiredness. What cost us at the end of the season? Injuries, tiredness, fatigue. We kind of ran out of juice. I like this approach. I'm not going to lie. But I hear what people are saying. It does take a getting used to. And I'm with Colonel. There was times in the game where I was like, sat there and just not enjoying this. Okay, how shall I describe it? I wasn't on the edge of my seat. I'm not going to lie. I'm with Colonel. But I was so calm. I was so relaxed that points in the bag already. Do you get that feeling?
You know what's funny? Sorry to cut across you, Keith. I'm watching this game underneath the blanket, and I was so comfortable. I fell asleep. They tucked me in with 3 points before the game was over. You think I'm complaining?
Yeah,
I hear that.
But for me, like last year, I think I've probably said this phrase. You could probably, if AI could clip up all the videos of the most common thing I said on the channel last year, it was us being the great entertainers, right? And when you're the great entertainers, you rarely win titles because you're fun to watch. Your box office, you're on the edge of your seat. You're in transitions, going direct, etc., etc. And I just don't think I don't think this season we're necessarily going to be the great entertainers. I watched the Chelsea game, right, and I thought that was a lot of what we looked like last season. Where they scored 6 goals, but Wolves could have scored 6 goals themselves. There was no midfield. It was transition galore, and they were killing each other basically in transition. So, I think it's a key development in kind of where football is going. This baiting the press is obviously a style that obviously has been made famous by Pep Guardiola, particularly against. That's how he kind of dealt with Jurgen Klopp, really, and how he was successful in beating Liverpool. And I think obviously you see a team like Arsenal also playing quite a similar style. I wouldn't say Arsenal are very exciting to watch at all. What I will say is I think the biggest change and why it's going to become more effective is that all teams now press high, right? It's not a case no more in the Premier League that any team really, when one team has the ball, really sits. Yeah, they might sit in a low block once you progress the ball past the halfway line and they go into a low block. But when when Virgil van Dijk and Konate and they have the ball, teams press us high. And what was happening, particularly toward the start of last season, I remember a game against Crystal Palace, for example, where they were just triggering their presses, like hitting players like Endo and just transitioning on us. And all of a sudden, it becomes a basketball game. And so I think the more the players learn how to move the ball around and bait the press and pass in between the team in our own half, I think the more successful we're going to be in terms of grinding teams down to the point where actually they're going to think twice about pressing so high and give us even more opportunities to push up the pitch, like what Manchester City do. Manchester City have beaten teams to death so much that they don't really press past their halfway line unless they're a top 6 team. And so this change could really start to really stamp our authority on teams to say, okay, cool, come and press us like Brentford did. Yeah, Brentford, in fair play to them, they were trying to whistle them, and Buemo, they were pushing up that pitch. Do you know what I mean? On more than one occasion. And if you want entertainment and you want edge of your seats, well, this style of football is definitely going to keep us in the edge of the seat against better opposition. And that's when it's going to get interesting.
100%. We're going to get onto people who want to talk about the breaking news. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted our interest in Chiesa. We will discuss that for sure, people. But we're just going to finish off with our summary of the game and give our opinions on that and anything else that we may want to talk about. Let us know if you want us to talk about anything else apart from the Chiesa we're going to come to. But as I said, keep hitting that like button, like, share, subscribe. We're on the road to 50K. We want to get there before the end of the season. That's our target, to reach 50K before the end of the season. But Colonel, the opening goal comes from a player that we've discussed in the last couple of weeks to the hill and back.
Yes.
Luchito. Talk to me.
So you can't make this stuff up, man. So it's Salah, first and foremost, in a challenge and come out strong. Wins the ball. Jota gunning it down there. Lucho takes off like a wide receiver in American football and run and do a no-look slant run as if it was planned. Jota, perfect way to pass, and Lucho with end product. Something I've criticized him about, something a lot of fans criticize him about, not having the end product. And I'm gonna be honest, man, that counter-attacking play happened so fast. It's Keith said, if you blink, you missed it. So very great. Salah, once again, just popping up, getting on the score sheet as well. And the clean sheet. I want people to understand something here. You see last season, them times, 5 minutes in the game, Liverpool conceded. Talk about you haven't even sit down yet and you're on the edge. And so 2 goals, clean sheet, never look flustered. I'm laying under the covers, just falling asleep with no worries at all. I come out the game with no one to criticize.
I think that's what you're bored of, really. You have
don't strike that, Chris. I didn't share that for you to strike that. What I'm trying to say is there is a man in there I could criticize because he looks lost. Let's be honest, Darwin Nunez looked a little bit lost because there's no chaos for him to feed off, and we're not even allowing him to create chaos.
Okay,
because we're so controlled.
Hold that thought, because we're not come to the end of the game yet. Okay, I actually share your opinion on that slightly, but look, Luis Diaz, man, like Keith, like we have been discussing him, me and the Colonel, and me and you discussed him loads last season, and so many different opinions on what to do with this fella, especially with the strong links to Gordon, who I still believe will become a Liverpool player. I'll keep saying it. He will become a Liverpool player, whether it's this window, January or summer. He will become a Liverpool player. But what do you do with Diaz? I mean, it's so far he looks like a rejuvenated player or confidence player. What does he look to you? Or are you still of the same opinion? Or what is your opinion?
Well, my opinion is that this is now the 3rd season in a row that Luis Diaz scores his first goal in the first game at Anfield. So I'll temper. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen him score in the first game at Anfield before. He scored last season against that overhead kick against West Ham. season before he also scored. So my issue with Luis Diaz has been just that consistency, right? It's kind of like he'll start well, and then he'll kind of fade off in terms of his contribution. So I've got a question mark on him. I think his numbers absolutely needs to improve on that left-hand side if he's to have a long stay. I think there's two things I'll say on the current situation. First of all, clearly Arnold Slot prefers Luis Diaz, which is quite a big endorsement when you consider that his countryman, Cody Gakpo, who you would have thought, having been played in the same division as him, being Dutch, probably seen more of Cody Gakpo than he's seen of Luis Diaz. Clearly on the training pitch, Diaz is doing something that Gakpo's not at the moment. And I think actually the Diaz-Jota combination, I suppose, works best because they kind of both move in, like they interchange between each other. I saw that a lot in the game between the left and the center. So it clearly works. He's clearly favored by the manager. The second thing is that, you know, I think he's on a bit of a high at the moment. I think this the style suits him. I think he's being asked maybe to do less with more, because I think that players like Szoboszlai and McAllister are now being asked to actually do more to put Diaz in better positions, like the counter-attack position that he was put in, for example. So, you know, we don't need Luis Diaz to be picking it up from deep and trying to drive in with runs. We need Diaz further up the pitch, trying to score and create goals. Less touches, I think, is being drilled into him as well, which I think it has been a bit of Diaz, a bit of a problem. Like Sadio Mane never took as many touches as Diaz, for example. Diaz takes a lot of touches, tries to do things on his own, doesn't need to. And, you know, earliest signs, but, you know, I'm seeing connections with Robertson, which I've always felt was probably been a little bit of his downfall. So maybe the system is probably bringing out the best in Luis Diaz, but I'm going to hold my thoughts on him and see how we're talking about him come maybe October, November.
I think that's fair. I'm not going to ask you to sort of be reactionary, and we don't like to be reactionary on this channel. We don't like to have differing opinions every single week. We're absolutely open to change our opinions. We all should be. But I think the body of work, we want it to be a bit extended. But so far, so good. I have absolutely no qualms and issues with it so far.
And sorry, Chris, just one thing in the chat. Someone asked the question, how can you say Diaz is favored over Gakpo? It's only been 2 games. Absolutely agree with you. My question to that is Trent Alexander-Arnold finished earlier and he's straight in the team. Virgil van Dijk finished same time as Gakpo. He's straight in the team. Gakpo, I'm not seeing him until the 70th, 80th minute. So for me at the moment, it says yes until otherwise, Diaz, Jota, and Salah look like the front three for him. Sorry,
No,
I just want to add that.
No, absolutely. I don't think there's anything. I don't think anyone can deny that, to be honest with you. Sleeping Dragon says, smash the like button, please, chat. He said, please, so let's do it. Colonel, as you said, 1-0 halftime, boring, you know, basic, whatever you want to call it, controlled. Second half, we played some football, man. Second half, very much like the Ipswich game. I don't know what Slot's doing at halftime, but whatever he's doing. And look, I get it. In the Ipswich game, and by the way, guys, I think I've done a very good post-match reaction from my car. Go and check it out if you haven't. I do an instant post-match reaction. It's not easy to gather your thoughts straight at full time, but hopefully I've done a decent job. If I haven't, tell me. And I'll try to improve as well. You know, football's a humbler. Football reporting is a humbler as well. So let me know what I do wrong. And hit the like button if I've done it right. Colonel, you was asleep under your duvet, bored. Second half, some of that football must have woke you up. Because some of that football in that second half, to me, was, like Keith says, you know, that how I didn't get the house music because I forgot what house music was. It's been that long, right? But when he reminded me what house music was, it's like that. And then it just goes. That was it. I don't know. Colonel will probably come back in a minute. He's probably doing something. But some of that football, if we had just put the finishing touches, some of those moves, Keith. Yeah. That was, you know, like the Dutch philosophy of total football. That was beautiful, right?
Yeah. The one-touch football was incredible to see, you know. Salah looks like he's having the time of his life at the moment in this style of play. You know, one knock it, and it's just a way that we transition from kind of the transitions are starting from almost like midfield, and the way that we don't do that the long like wing to wing switches anymore. it's almost like we do this like more
It takes
narrow
one
switching.
touch. It takes one touch to start a move. It might be a flick into midfield, and then the move starts.
And it was interesting that Slot spoke a lot about how he liked, and you could see even during the preseason trainings when he was talking a lot about the players like letting the ball roll out instead of taking that touch initially to stop the ball. It's kind of letting it go out, and you could see when the players did that, all of a sudden they let it go out from, say, if someone on the left hand side, you know, McAllister would kind of let the ball roll out, pop it into Szoboszlai, and all of a sudden you got an overload in the right hand side, right between Szoboszlai, Trent, and Salah in an instant. So you could almost see a lot of his coaching has come to fruition. And on that conversation of how we've built up and how he likes to build up, I've got to give my props to Ryan Gravenberch.
I was just going to say, you mentioned McAllister and you was talking about the body, and I was like, Keith, surely Keith's going to mention Gravenberch. So I'm glad you did.
You know, honestly, when I remember him, right? Obviously, last season we spoke a lot about him, and I felt that he would do these moves, but he would always get clamped, right? And he would always get clamped because he was in the opposition's area where the opposition are more likely going to try and clamp him. And he was a liability to the transitions because we throw all our players up there. He tried to do this little dummy move, let it go through his legs, whatever. He'd get tackled or he'd get 2v1, and all of a sudden we're getting counterattacked. But now he's playing in this deeper role. He's got more space. And because he's got more space, he's able, all that skill sets that he has actually now shines through so much more in this deeper role. And his ability to take the ball out, to move, to manipulate the ball into space, to allow the release of the ball, one-touch passes in more narrower positions. I can't believe, you know, Tommy Tuchel couldn't figure it out. And he's a Champions League winning coach. 2 games in, and Arne Slot's managed to actually turn around and look at a talent like Gravenberch and get him into the positions that he needs to play. And that style of that transition through midfield is really benefiting Ryan Gravenberch. And I thought the second half in particular allowed him to do that a lot more, in my opinion. So long may it continue in this new, you know, I know we still need a midfielder because we can't rely on Gravenberch and McAllister all season, but you can see what we're looking for in that position.
100%. And it's something completely, I don't think any one of us, and we spoke about Redfella so much in terms of what kind of midfielder we wanted. So we can't even be hypocrites now and say, no, we always wanted this technical ball playing, you know, a Busquets type DM. We were looking for like a Rodri or Caicedo or ball winner, Ugarte, someone like this who would win his duels and battles and tackles. But dare I say it, Gravenberch is doing that element as well. So far, Keith, and I'm with you. We need a body of work, and this Sunday will show me a lot. This Sunday is where my eyes and my focus and my concentration's at, because no problem. He done it against Ipswich. Ipswich are favourites to go down. No problem, right? But they did do well. Brentford was another stiff test because Brentford had athletes everywhere around him. Like, big bully team, probably the biggest team in the Premier League physically, right? And one of the best organized. He passed that test. Next week, away to Old Trafford is a whole different test, isn't it, Keith? Not only physically, possibly maybe, because it's a big pitch and Man United, but mentally. Because away to Man United, doesn't matter how good we are, apart from the odd 5-0 that we beat them and a 4-2 in recent times, we tend not to finish them off, or we tend not to get the result that's desired and required there. So this will be, as I said, not only a physical, but a big mental test for him, right? Because this is what I'm looking forward to seeing.
I think it will be absolutely a mental test because of the size of the pitch. It's a big pitch, right? And there's a lot of space. And for all the banter and all the, the disses we can throw to Erik ten Hag, the one thing that he has got Man United very, very, very good at, and which killed us last season, is counterattacks and transition. And there was times where we would turn around and say, well, Erik ten Hag's midfield is completely empty, which was also true, why we created 1,000 chances. But the minute we would switch off and try and force it, after a while, all of a sudden we get hit through transition. And one of the key issues last season was the midfield battles, which I believe we were not winning last season. I thought Endo in the FA Cup in particular didn't have a great game. And so this is Ryan Gravenberch's opportunity to shine. I thought another pitch which is quite big and actually he really didn't shine was Arsenal away, which will also be an interesting one because he played in that last season. I thought he looked like a boy amongst men. But going back to the United game, I think this will be a test for Gravenberch to see how far he's come and how confident he is. And it will also be a test to see whether Slot's style is able to counter the counter-attacks and the transitions against a team like Man United, because that killed us last season. So, yeah, long way to go, but, you know, I'm happy for him that he's found his confidence. He looks like he wants to get physically involved. He's had a year now in the Premier League, and I think now he wants to get stuck in. You know, the tackles he wants to get stuck in. He wants to start winning headers, you know, and I think this is his time. He has got the best opportunity to hold down that position for the majority of the season, because
listen, opportunities, right? It's like, you know, this is what it is. Smash the likes, people, to celebrate all things romantic for Mr. Cross, like he says. You know, let's do this, people. Smash the likes. Congratulations to Keith again from everyone in the chat as well. But yeah, look, we need to celebrate your marriage, of course, celebrate the win, celebrate everything else. But like you said, we need to celebrate Mohamed Salah again. It looks like another celebration of Mohamed Salah. Not only has he had the most immaculate hair job, he looks like he's got those deft finishes. Keith, I miss those finishes, bro. You know that finish on weekend? I miss those. He hasn't done those for a little while. He's been scuffing them and this and that, but that little chip, what are you telling me? Mohamed Salah again.
It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. It's beautiful. But man, you know, come on, you know, Hugh's just given the lifetime contract. He's so happy at Liverpool. He's the boss. You know, I'm sure everybody watches the Inside Anfield videos, right? When they release once a week. You can see that it's his home. This is his home. You know what I mean? He has everything you could ever want. He's the main man. He looks fitter, sharper, stronger. I mean, whatever they're doing with him in the gym seems to have added a little bit more of that sharpness back to him. Everything that is built around him again. The finish was beautiful. It was just so Mohamed Salah, and you can see it in his celebrations. Again, we know when Mohamed Salah is upset, or we know when the last time the contract situation came, he was scoring goals in muted fashion. This time, he just looks happy. He just looks happy to be a part of all of this, and I would like to talk about that move, just taking a few steps back, because again, not getting ahead of ourselves. We'll see what happens in 5 games' time. But physically, the team looks like they've got a little bit of an extra edge. I don't know whether it's something they've done in the gym, whether it's something they're doing on the training pitch without the ball. But Szoboszlai, for example, always seemed to fade after the 50th, 60th minute in Premier League football. He was not getting bullied against what you were talking wrestlers. He used his body. He fought for that. Again, maybe that's now a second season in the Premier League, but that was all Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai made sure he did not lose that ball. And he put his body on the line. He made sure he shielded the ball, and away he progressed. And again, that's testament to the fact that we're not using him as a workhorse anymore. He gets to be further up the pitch without having to play deeper. And he was the catalyst for winning that ball. But even when they were saying that kind of physicality, like when we were getting transition, they were saying it on commentary, Liverpool had like 4, 5, 6 players back straight away. So clearly something.
I love that. I love that, by the way. I love that. Yeah.
Right? We're not slow, sluggish, like, oh, you know, shit. And now it's only like we're jogging back. It just seems to be like we're fitter. And that fitness is transcending into what we're seeing in Mohamed Salah so far. So touch wood that he obviously continues to be injury-free. And obviously the Premier League's a long season. But if Salah can focus more on finishes like that,
I don't know why. I just miss those, Keith. You know, he's been scuffing and they've been going all over the place, and his finishing, I've just been like, but when he does that finish, that's when you know he's at that, you know, we've got our Mohamed Salah back. I've got this fella, I've noticed you in the chat, just making stupid comment after stupid comment. And I've been bearing it, but if you continue, I'm just going to kick you off my channel, mate. I don't really give a shit about you. Honestly, you've been making little stupid comments all through the chat, and we don't hold it. We don't hold it here. We don't care about, you know, people like you in here, man. Go and get attention somewhere else on another channel, bro. People are saying breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. So look, we'll finish off the game. the game was comfortable even before that, I thought, but that sealed it, Keith. Nice, comfortable. We could look, and I know you love this kind of shit. Highest expected goals so far this season and lowest expected goals against this season. We can't ask for much more. The opposition will get tougher. There will be tougher tests, but listen, we do what we got to do so far, and so far so good. But let's get on to transfers, rumors. We want incomings. Keith,
We won them.
Keith, Keith, me and you and all of us, we don't really do desperation chat, and we're not shiny toy merchants, and we're not signings, or FSG out or FSG in. We try to evaluate what we see and make an opinion, formed opinion on there. I am frustrated. I am anxious. A new manager has been instilled, a new culture for the philosophy. It's very clear, Keith. Like you said, he's favored certain players and hasn't favored certain players. And one of the players he hasn't favored is Wataru Endo, who was pretty much our starting DM last season. That indicates to me that he's indicated to the recruitment staff, I need someone in there. He's also been giving Joe Gomez the permission to talk to other clubs. Now, people are saying there's an account called Davo Cop on Twitter that has just said Joe Gomez is in talks with Crystal Palace. Few of my friends will know that I told them in private that that's the case as well. I can confirm that is. Crystal Palace are favourites to sign Joe Gomez. If that's the case, Keith, there is no way on earth that we go into this season with Konate, Kwanzaa, Virgil, and dare I say it, at this stage, Nat Phillips as the fourth choice. No way, Keitho.
Can't happen. Honestly, Nat Phillips. What career at Liverpool? This guy, he'll still be there long after Arne Slot. Give him a job at the cafeteria afterwards. But all jokes aside, look, we know the injury record that Konate has. You know, Virgil van Dijk played every minute of every game last season. You know, and Gerald Konza, you know, is very, very good, but he's still got a long way to go. If the rumors are that, you know, as you was been saying, that Joe Gomez is going, and fair play to Joe Gomez, to be honest, to go and get regular football, then it is a must that we have to have somebody in there in Virgil van Dijk's centre back position, by the way, at left centre back, to compete with Virgil at the end of the day, compete with that side of the pitch, because if Slot and Hughes have this opinion that we can just get by with coaching alone and we'll see how it goes, they're going to be Slot, who has said a lot of times, oh, people tell me about the Premier League, will learn really, really quickly what happens during Christmas and what happens after Christmas. So it would be crazy to suggest that we haven't made plans to deal with that, and hopefully
even the most calmest like me, you, Conroy, our boys at the Red Fellas, even we will be like, no.
Do you remember what happened the last time we tried to go into a season with 3 centre backs? Yeah, we ended up with Reece Williams and Nat Phillips. So I'm sure the club is not stupid enough to make such a silly mistake. So my only thing is that if they're allowing Joe Gomez to go, that's because they have assurances, aka maybe a lot more assurances than they had with the Zubi saga, that there's a centre back to come. Who it could be, you know, I'm not the expert on centre backs, but there's a very, very, very good centre back across the road who's currently playing for a team who, in my opinion, are going down this season.
Okay,
and, that is who I'd be very tempted to really test the waters with, to be honest, because I think that's a local boy right there that could have a big impact. Jared Braithwaite, he's there. For me, I think Everton need the money. They can't turn their noses up at it. They need the money. Their players just got abused again as they got off the train station. Jared, do you want to be a part of that, or do you want to stay at home, keep your family at home, and come play Champions League football with the best?
Sorry, guys, if you heard that. That's just a knife and fork smashing up my table. But listen, I like your shout a lot, and people want to obviously texting us and letting us know about Joyce has spoken. We're going to touch upon the next topic. So look, the Joe Gomez, some people believe that he's still going to stay, and that's up to them. I've been of the opinion 2 weeks ago when I revealed that he's been given permission to talk to various clubs. I believe he's going to go, but let's see. And as we said, if that's the case, there's no way, guys. I've made so many sportsman's bets on sportsman's bets, not money bets, about if we go into the season with 3 centre backs, I will shave my beard off. I will do whatever forfeit the chat. We'll do a poll, and wherever the chat the forfeit does, that's how confident I'm, guys, that we will bring in someone. So let's not panic. Let's not go mad. Keith, is there anything that you've just seen that caused that reaction? Did you want to say something? You saw something?
Yeah, obviously you saw the chat, what they were saying. You seen what they're saying?
Well, exactly. So we're going to come on to that.
I think we're going to come on to it.
So we're going to come on to it now. Look, guys, Fabrizio Romano tweeted about an hour ago or something. Liverpool are weighing up an option to see if they can bring in Chiesa. Now, where do we start with this, Mr. Cross? I don't know. Okay, 2019-20. Chiesa was probably my favorite attacker in world football. I thought he is the successor to Mohamed Salah, the one and only Mohamed Salah. That's how highly I thought of Chiesa at the time. Now we know, we're not stupid people. We know since then injuries galore. But Keith, now we have a Joyce tweet which suggests that the story is true and Liverpool are weighing up their options. I told you guys, hold tight. There's going to be a madness this week. I didn't have any intel on Chiesa. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I knew about Chiesa. Yeah, I DM'd a few people. No, I didn't know about Chiesa, but I knew we're active in the market and we are very much looking into bringing in players. Now, Mr. Goalmouth, is Chiesa, did Chiesa ever enter your thought pattern? What do you make of this link? And it's not even a link, it's true. The story that we are considering, we are weighing up our options. Now, do we have any information? Yes, the fee is supposed to be in the region of 10 to 15 million pounds. Wow. Talk to me. What do you think about this?
Let's break this down. First of all, I thought that this was agent chat, to be honest. This was just agent positioning Chiesa in a particular in the market to try and get suitors. So the fact that Paul Joyce has come out and said Liverpool are weighing it up. We talk about opportunist signings, and then the back has injury problems. But can I share my screen?
Yeah, of course you can. Hold on, how do I do it?
I think I can.
Can you do it? You can go and do it. Yeah. Yeah, do it if you can.
Let's share the screen here. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. So, I mean, if we look at Chiesa's minutes, I mean, the talk about him being an injury-prone player doesn't strike me as being something that's necessarily true based on last season. I mean, he played 2,200 minutes, 25 appearances, 8 from the bench. He scored 9 goals, 2 assists. Whose scored rating was only 6.98. But, I mean, if we talk about the big season that he had, which was around here, right, the 2018, 2019, 2020, around the time with Italy when he won the Euros. I mean, his output wasn't exactly anything better than what we had there. And we were talking about a player that was going to be a world beater. So I think let's put the minutes to the side. Clearly, he can play over 2,000 minutes. And if you actually look at Liverpool players who played only over 2,000 minutes last season, I only believe it was a handful. And the only player up front to play over 2,000 minutes, I believe, was Mohamed Salah. When we look in terms of output, again, it's not like the goals have dried up. Maybe the assists have a little bit. I'm sure we may be able to get some Juventus fans on here to talk more about physically.
I will definitely do that. I will definitely do that. Yeah.
cruciate ligament wise? Has there been any drop since he had the cruciate ligament? But Virgil van Dijk had cruciate ligament issues, and I don't think he's missed a step. So all things considered, if you're talking about that type of money, I'm guessing modest wages for a player that can still play over 2,000 minutes and can effectively compete on the right and the left-hand side, given all the things that make Chiesa really, really good, you know, particularly in terms of dribbles, right? He averaged 1.1 dribble per game last season for Juventus. I think at his height at Fiorentina, it was 1.4, 1.6, so not hugely up. You know, key passes 1.6 per game average, or per minutes. I think it's per minutes or per game. Forget how Who Scored put it. When we look at it in his prime for Fiorentina and in Juventus, he probably didn't even have a bad season. So, I mean, a lot of the data and the stats, and obviously, you know, if you know, Evan, I don't know if he's still around in terms of getting involved, but, you know, I'm sure he could probably put up some data vizzes. The quick overview in terms of what we're seeing by way of data suggests to me that, you know, maybe we just wasn't watching Serie A enough last season, and Juventus were completely outshone by Inter. But for those wages, if it's good wages and if it's a good fee, for me, that screams as an opportunity signing. Why does it scream as an opportunity signing? Because for me, Chiesa is very direct, really keeps players on the back foot, wicked shot, you know, physically, he's perfect for the Premier League. And this could be a renaissance season for him. At worst, it could be a Shaqiri type signing for Liverpool.
That's the example that everyone seems to be comparing him to. Like when we bought Shaqiri, the impact Shaqiri had, of course, didn't play every game, of course, didn't start every game. But I think it's fair to say he made impact in his short spell here. Now, everything that you've said in terms of minutes played last season, someone else has just told me he made 25 appearances out of 34 or something like that last season. That's decent, right, Keith? I mean, that's not bad. And Italy is still, I know it became, or the levels dropped a few years back, but Italy, the standards of Italy have come back up again. Inter Milan, Champions League finals, Atalanta, Europa League winners. You know, the standards have come back up again, and it's still a physical league. Say what you want about it. You know, the likes of Bastoni and the much vaunted Calafiori play in this league, right? Who everyone's talking about in terms of what a signing for Arsenal. There is still decent defending happening in Italy, right? This guy, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I don't know. People are saying it's a win-win situation. It's a low risk, high reward. Is that a good way of putting it? Yeah. Low risk, high reward?
Low risk, high reward, 100%. He's 26 years old at the end of the day. You know, I mean, at worst, it doesn't work out. He goes back to Italy. But, you know, clearly they've seen something within the metrics to suggest that, you know, he still has a lot of potential to potentially even explode in the Premier League. I mean, you know, you look at Juventus. Juventus didn't have the best of seasons last season. You know, they finished third, 71 points. They scored 54 goals, which was the same as Bologna, and they were touted as being the exciting newcomers of last season. Again, it's just a case of he made the big move to Juventus, but Juventus as a club have not really ripped up trees since he's been there. So when you put those kind of two together, you get a scenario where you're kind of like, well, what has he really done to kind of impress? You look at Italy, since they won the Euros, where everyone really took a shine into them, they didn't qualify for the World Cup, and they had a very, very poor team go to the Euros. So again, when we kind of add all that together, perception is reality. Remember, perception is reality. I mean, no one's really looking at him for a number of these reasons. Juventus weren't in the Champions League last season. I don't think they were in the Champions League the season before. He's just not been in the limelight. So perhaps there's been stuff going on in his performances that we just haven't seen. So, you know, it's very interesting to see. But one thing I do like about it, because I know there's a lot of people turning their nose up. No, we need a midfield. Yes, we need obviously covering midfield. I like the idea that finally we're going to get a kind of a forward, if you will, of the likes that can play on both sides of the wing. Who probably, you know, clearly they're probably going to prefer him on the right side. And we're not going to try and rely on a youngster to try and do this job. You know, I think we've been hoping for Ben Doak to blow up. We've been hoping for KD Gordon to blow up. It's just not going to happen anytime soon. So let's get someone there with experience and at a low value. I think someone that could be there. My only other question would be is now we're going to have six forwards for 3 positions. Is there question marks about does Arne Slot already have question marks about 1 or 2?
It's an interesting question, and look, people are flooding in with their opinions and ideas, and I get it. He's even played as a striker. Shabazz says he's taking cut wages, 80K per week with Barcelona. So if he's happy to take wages reduction, because apparently he's on about 150K at Juve, but if he's willing to take a wage cut, people, or even a loan move, do you think a loan move is appealing? Like, we're gonna give you a loan. We see how it goes. We don't really do loans, have we? We haven't really done loans. Guys, remind me, have we done many loans? No, I don't think we've done that many loans. Anelka's the most famous one I can remember that we done. And then we didn't take it up. Kabak. Arthur. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was, Ben. But I think loan would be the most sensible one, right? Like, we give you a year. Let's see how you settle in. Let's see what we kind of output we can get out of you on and off the pitch. On the pitch, I mean, what off the pitch? What output we're looking for off the pitch, but on the pitch. And like you say, when we want to rest the likes of Mohamed Salah, instead of relying on Harvey Elliott playing out of position, let's just say Harvey Elliott's not a right winger, right? Harvey Elliott's a 10 or an 8, right? More likely a 10. And then all relying on a Ben Doak, who's probably going on loan anyway. Imagine we can bring off Chiesa for the last 15, 20 minutes and alternate with him. It's a total different ball game, isn't it?
It is. And obviously you've got this issue with Mohamed Salah still going to the African Cup of Nations in January.
Shout.
You know what I mean? And last time we went through all of that, we kind of forced it to the point where, you know, he ended up picking up an injury and he was out. So again, absolutely agree with you. It's an option for us to really kind of protect the legs of Mohamed Salah, because if we can protect the legs of Mohamed Salah, particularly in games, in FA Cup games, maybe Champions League early games, etc., you know, again, we want Mohamed Salah at this level for as long as possible. We can't keep running him to the ground to the point where he starts to continue to pick up injuries. Last season was the first time when we thought, maybe we have been playing Mohamed Salah too much, because he started getting injured, which was unheard of. So I think it's good for competition. I think it's good to have a forward that can play across the lines. And I think it's a good opportunity to have somebody there who has a point to prove. I think that's one of the most interesting parts about that, you know, really have a point to prove. Like, at one stage, I was the best in the world. And our club has been really good, particularly with forwards who want to come and prove a point. Mohamed Salah is one of them, really, like, to come over to Liverpool. And in terms of a loan deal, interesting. I always feel like with loan deals, there's always that lack of commitment towards it. That's my only kind of concern. If we get him on a 1-year loan, are we basically saying you're just here to look after the position, just so happens that Salah, or actually are we going to sign him and we have an actual plan for him? I hope that we sign him and have a plan for him rather than making this move. But again, clearly there's something in the data that the guys see, because this has really shocked me, excited me. I love seeing Italians come to the Premier League. Haven't really done well.
They haven't got the best record though, have they?
No, really haven't. That's
the only thing. Is that a thing? Like, what is that? Is that a thing? And why is that a thing? I don't know. I don't get it. I can't put my finger on it. Obviously, we've got the Zolas and the Di Canios, Ravanellis to a certain extent, Di Matteos. There's been some good ones, actually. I've just named off 4 or 5 that have been good.
That was almost like pre. I don't know. I feel like it's pre 2000 and kind of like 5, almost like that. Pre that, I think there was a lot, but post that, I think a lot of it comes down to being homebodies. You know, Italian. Obviously, I've had Italian family myself, and you know, I know a lot of the men in Italy. I mean, obviously they're not footballers or anything like that, but a lot of them don't leave their mother's house. You know, culturally, they don't like to leave home. They don't like to fly out. You know, it's a culture thing. You know, they're very much, you know, similar to Spain. A lot of those players never leave. Culturally, it's just a better fit. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But Chiesa doesn't have to think about any of those things. He has to think about, how can I become the main man again? And I think he has to take this risk. It's just a shame Zubimendi didn't have a similar
I like your theory though.
mentality
No, but
to
you know
come and
what?
take
Your
that
theory,
risk with us,
you
to be
know,
honest. But we'll
you know
see.
your theory about motivation and wanting to prove himself. I like that theory. That's a serious theory because Mohamed Salah used that to devastating effect. Like try to rebuild his career after Syria, a little bit of whatever. Obviously, Chiesa hasn't been in the Premier League before, but you know what I mean, the motivation tactics. Ali says, Grizz, did we want Chiesa before? Yes, we did. In the previous tenure of Edwards, we made a very substantial bid for him. I can't remember what year it was, but we made a very substantial bid in the region of about 55 million.
Oh, wow.
But obviously it didn't come to fruition. But those were those days, and I can imagine us with the new old boys coming back to the fore, revisiting that database and comparing what his numbers are like now. And I think they may make a decision. And like someone said earlier, a loan to buy probably would sound now. Before people start saying, "Oh, Grizz pretending he knew about this." No, there's always going to be little bitch boys and dickheads saying, "Oh, Grizz pretending he knows." No, I'm openly saying I didn't know about this. I absolutely had no idea about this one. Gomez one, I did. Gomez in talks with Crystal Palace. But this one, and I love it. I love when you don't know about things and sometimes, boom, a little bit of an excitement in your life and we're talking about it. So this is interesting, man. We're gonna keep an eye on, firm eye on. We haven't got long actually because what is it? End of Monday now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday deadline. By the way, I'm gonna be doing an all-day transfer deadline stream, a marathon stream. I'm going to have everyone joining us. I'm sure Keith's going to pop in from time to time. Whoever's free is going to come in and out. It's going to be proper transfer deadline day carnage on here because I think we will be active in the next 4 or 5 days. People, sometimes a bit of excitement in your life. Sometimes do the unexpected. Be brave. And this is what Liverpool, I think, will be doing in the next few days. Some may call it panic stations. I just call it look at earlier. Zuberi was talking about he was bored. Well, I don't think we're going to be bored in the last few days. We've got a Crystal Palace fan in the chat saying, Grizz, about this Gomez talks about Palace. Where's he gone? Yes, my friend, 100%. I knew about the talks as well. As I said, I DM'd a few people, messaged a few people. But let's see what comes of it. I think Gomez is probably leaving Liverpool. And at this stage, Palace are the favourites. But was there anything else, Keith, that we forgot to address or discuss?
I think maybe some super chats.
Oh, Sugar Plum. Yes, sir. But let's get to 500 likes before. Thank you very much, Sleeping Dragon. 500 likes is monumental effort from you guys. Let's see if we can reach it before the end of the stream. All right. Pranav says, guess our club was busy with Keith's wedding. Now we start the signings. Congratulates Keith. Yeah, man, big up, Pranav. Thoughts on Chiesa news and any word on centre-backs? Yes, I think a centre-back will... What kind of percentage do you give Liverpool when Liverpool do the maddest things? I say 80% sure that we bring in a centre-back. There you go. 80% sure. Pixelated Pigeon in the building says, in an interview with Cara midweek, one of the things Slot pinpointed as a difference between his style and Klopp's was risk versus reward. He doesn't want us to force the issue so much it overexposes us. I think we covered that, didn't we, Keith? And you covered that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to agree with you on that. And again, it's music to our ears because risk in the Premier League, whether you're playing Ipswich or Manchester City, usually equals goals. So hopefully more clean sheets to come.
Absolutely. Big up, Grizz. Enjoy your back holidays. Thank you very much for the kind words. A Man City fan shows how everyone tunes in. We're international, we're global, we're domestic. Thank you very much, baby. Lukeba or Dorgu for that left centre-back, please. I know we have interest in Lukeba. I haven't mentioned Dorgu. I haven't heard Dorgu's name mentioned, but I know we had interest in Lukeba. Big up, Grizz and Keith. I used to watch Syria back in the 2000s. The quality of the league has dropped massively now. He's talking about when Ronaldo was at Juve. Yeah, look, I did reference that. It's not the most strongest league, but I don't think it's as weak as it was a few years ago. You know, we referenced Inter Milan's, Atalanta that have come back in and shown the rest of Europe how good they are now. So I don't think it's that weak, right? I don't know if you still watch Serie A much?
Yeah, I watch it from time to time. I just think it's been, the last season was dominated by Inter. Inter were just head and shoulders above everybody else. It's a fun league to watch, to be honest. Obviously it's on BT Sport, or now Discovery Plus, but fun to watch. And yeah, I don't think necessarily the league should dictate the quality of the player. I think Chiesa has definitely got qualities to show in the Premier League.
We have more breaking news from the reliable Liverpool journalists. Here we go. Now, James Pearce has put his tuppence, whatever you want to say it. By the way, Facts Only says Richard Hughes is on shaky water. Honestly, he's got a big week ahead of him. Love the content, Chris. Thank you very much. James Pearce has said they want 15 million euros. How much is that, Keith? That's about
12 million quid, I reckon.
Oh, sugar plum. Ben says no Chiesa in the UEFA squad as well. Plot's thickening, people. We'll be here for it. We will try to bring you the latest, the most exciting content on Liverpool fan media. Vegan Sports Bar says, do you think Nunez is benched due to the copper? I just think he's benched because Jota's fit.
Yeah. This was my big thing. I said it on Twitter when they were saying about Thingy. I just think at the moment he prefers Diogo Jota.
Oh, and rightly so. There's no ifs and buts about it, right?
It's interesting that actually. It's one of the most surprising. I think there's been a few surprises here and there with letting the youth go, the rise of Trey and Naoni, Gravenberch in the midfield. But for me, the most untold story is the fact that right now Diogo Jota is Liverpool's number 9. And I think that's very interesting.
Clear. But listen, people, this has been the post-match carnage. Control at Anfield, new keeper signs, more incomings to come with the eyes emoji. And today, right, live and exclusive, while we were on the show, I said more incomings to come. And lo and behold, I don't write the scripts, people. I don't write the scripts. While we're live on the show, Joyce, Pierce, Lynch, everyone decides to tell us Liverpool are looking into Chiesa. People, this has been wonderful. Keith, you've been amazing as usual. Guys, if you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you haven't liked, that's not nice of you. Like the stream, subscribe if you haven't. We'll be back for more breaking news. You never know when we'll be back. Until then, peace out.